find Rose. Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win!
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Hustle Hoops. Subscribe if you're new. This is just a quick video. I want to jump on here and talk about like Paul George and Khris Middleton, bro. Like, they're having their life. They're giving me everything I needed from them. I want the Suns to win. So Paul George getting – I want the Suns to win just because I like Devin Booker. He's my favorite player. I think Chris Paul deserves a ring. I like Mikal Bridges and what they're doing with their youth movement. I like DeAndre Ayton. He's been playing like a man. I like Cameron Payne's playing out of his mind. But at the same time, I still do really like Paul George. Like, I like Paul George. I don't think he's been deserving the slander he's getting. For him to come out here and get 40, 13, and 6, I think he had, and 70% from the field, hitting threes, hitting shots, hitting fancy fillet layups. Like, Paul George is going crazy, bro. Like, and I feel like I just had to jump here and talk about it because I feel like a lot of the disrespect he gets is unwarranted, bro. We're acting like this is a dude who just trash, bro. Like, Paul George has consistently y'all trying to act like Paul George hasn't been a perennial all-star. Y'all trying to act like Paul George isn't a top 15 player of the 2010s decade. He's on an all-decade team for the 2010s. You're trying to act like Paul George was not a fan favorite in 2018 and forward. I mean, and behind, like from 2014 up until literally last season, Paul George has been a fan favorite. Everybody's been loving Paul George. All you would hear on the playground, oh, Paul George game is he's just so smooth. Everybody wanted to play like Paul George. Everybody liked Paul George. He's been a bucket. He was consistently regarded as one of the best two-way players in the game. He was like, Paul George was that guy. Y'all trying to act like in 2018 I just didn't have an MVP campaign. Okay, like, come on. Like, Paul George is like that. I think he deserves everything he's getting right now. He's having his life, and he's giving me life. Paul George, just to see him succeed, leading his team without Kawhi Leonard. This whole playoffs, he's been quietly going crazy, and nobody, even really this whole season, and even extending to the regular season, Paul George has had a very good season. I think he's shown his maturity, bouncing back from the abysmal 2020 playoffs he had. I'm not out here just saying I'll blindly just follow everything Paul George. I just like Paul George because he's one of my favorite players. But no, like, he had a terrible playoffs last year. I understand that, but he's had a very good bounce back season. He was having one of the most efficient seasons of his career during the regular season, and he was leading that whole Clippers team was having a historical season efficiency wise, free throw line and 3-pointers. And Paul George, there's a stretch where he had 30-point games. I think he had like 5 30-point games in a row and everything like that. Paul George is actually going off this regular season. But everybody always knows the question is, can he extend that to the playoffs? And the answer is yes, he has. He's averaging 30 points this series. Paul George has been going crazy. 30 points, 40 points, 27, 28, passing, rebounding. He's been leading his team in rebounding nearly every game. Paul George is doing what he needs to do in the absence of Kawhi Leonard, and I think we all just time to give him respect for that. But Paul George is tough, and let's realize that and stop acting like he's not, bro. It's a fun thing. It's a cool thing to get on Paul George, but realistically, he's still a top 15. If you don't want to give him 15, he's not too far from it. I'm not putting anything below 20 player in the league right now. Cut it all out with the Paul George hate. And then Khris Middleton. Oh, my gosh. Khris Middleton is like that, bro. That's as simple as I have to say. He's like that for a reason. Like, I've been an all-star for a reason. The thing for Khris Middleton is we've known what he can do. We've known he's been consistently a guy who can shoot the 3-ball, who can finish at the rim a little bit, who has an elite, deadly mid-range game. We know he's going to give you 50, 40, 90, give you solid defense. But the thing was, we were just waiting for him to just, like, be that consistent second star that Giannis needs to get that Bucks to a championship. And I think this playoffs, he's done that. Not even just the other 2 nights ago where he had 38, 20 points in the fourth quarter. He went off, right? Hitting threes after three after three. 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. Dang near felt like 4 hands. It didn't matter, right? But I've consistently been a fan of Khris Middleton, too. I've had arguments with a bunch of guys in the dorm. Oh, Khris Middleton versus CJ McCollum. Khris Middleton versus this person. Khris Middleton versus that person. Everybody hating on Khris Middleton. Khris Middleton is not good. And I've consistently been defending Khris Middleton, telling y'all, Khris Middleton is like that, point blank, period. We're talking about a dude who's going to consistently give you 50, 40, 90 type numbers. He's consistently going to be giving you 20 points per game. He's consistently going to hit a tough shot in the mid-range area. He's going to consistently be able to step out to the 3 and hit a catch-and-shoot 3. He can shoot the ball very well. Are we going to start considering Khris Middleton as a top shooter in the league? I'm not saying on Steph, on Clay, on anybody else at the level. But I'm just saying, like, there's not, every time Khris Middleton shoots a shot, 9 times out of 10, I expect it to go in as a viewer. When he shoots it, I'm never like, oh no, that's a bad shot. He missed it. I'm thinking it could go in because he's shown himself to be, like I said, a top 3-point shooter. And if I think he's even in that realm of being one of the best mid-range shooters on that Chris Paul, on that KD, on that Kawhi level in the mid-range, he's like that. So Khris Middleton really just had to come into his own. We've needed him to get this type of aggressiveness for him to show up and be the best version of himself, and for the Bucks to be the best versions of themselves, bro. And 2 nights ago at this point, he did that. And now this whole playoffs, he's been doing that. This whole playoffs, he's been going off. This whole playoffs, he's been doing well. That Brooklyn series, he was giving me something. You know, like, Khris Middleton has been playing well, and I just think I had to jump on here and just give both these guys their props, bro, because I don't know how many people are doing it. And I'm seeing a bunch of people talk about Paul George. Everybody want to talk about Paul George now, but it's like, bro, y'all, these same people, I'm not going to call any names, but I'm looking at these people. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm seeing stuff on the internet. These same people were just bashing Paul George a couple days ago, missing those 2 free throws. Now y'all say he deserves your respect. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. You can't be both. You either one or the other. You're either going to be a Paul George hater, or you're going to know what basketball talent is and respect him for what he is. And that's really it, bro. Y'all can't keep doing that. That's the kind of thing that pisses me off about, like, the NBA fandom and NBA media in general. Like, everybody's going to be on Paul George now because he just dropped 20 points in the third quarter, hitting threes 70%. And it's like, bro, relax. I heard a stat that this 40, 13, and 6 game was the second time on 70%. Is the second time in NBA history somebody had 40, 10, and 5 in a playoff game on 70%. And the only other person was Patrick Ewing. So just like I said, big kudos to Paul George, bro. I'm glad to see him doing what he's doing. I think it's time for him to take his place, his rightful place as a fan favorite. Whether he's going to be a top 10 player, whether he's going to ever win a championship, whether he's going to do anything accomplishment-wise, Paul George was a fan favorite throughout the 2010s, and I think it's time that he takes that spot back as a fan favorite. And Khris Middleton, I think, is just kind of like, y'all need to just give him his respect. Khris Middleton is a very good basketball player. He's been able to hit shots. To me, seeing him drop 38 is not a surprise because I know Khris Middleton is like that. I know that. I watch a lot of Bucks games. The Bucks are one of my favorite teams. The Bucks are probably my favorite Eastern Conference team. So I know what Khris Middleton can do. So I'm just glad to see both these guys hooping, man. Keep it up. Keep going crazy. I want the Clippers to lose, but I want Paul George to do well. So Suns, step it up so I can see a Bucks Suns finals, and that would just make me the happiest basketball fan alive.